Hello there.
No droid.
That R2 unit is in prime condition.
I'm with the droid on this one.
Wow, real astro droid.
Congratulations.
Hello there, and welcome to Astromech, the show you listen to because you've got no other Star Wars conversations to listen to. Sad for you. I'm your host, Isaac Mark Anthony, joined today by a very special guest, Kanan Jarrus-Core, direct from Facebook, the internet. Hello.
Hello.
It's good to have you, man. Thanks for putting aside the time and joining us for this Star Wars madness. It's always appreciated. Right.
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk Star Wars.
Excellent. That seems to be the case. I'm going to ask you straight away because I do this for all of the core pages that I interview. Be it, who have we had? Be it like No Damage Core or like Vobadan Core or any of those like random ones. They all say like, I just picked it because it was obscure, you know? Like I wanted something that no one had ever thought of. But then your name, Kanan Jarrus, like that's a full-on main character of Rebels. Why him?
Well, I was inspired one day to make a core page because I had all these memes I was making and sometimes submitting to like people like old Ben Core or something and stuff like that. I was like, well, I don't just make my own page and start posting them. And I don't remember the exact kind of process I went through, but I got to it was just sort of like I was checking characters like that had been taken or anything like that, and I was kind of thinking like, oh, Kanan, he's cool, I like him on Rebels. And I looked up and there wasn't a Kanan Jarrus-Core, so I was like, oh well, no one else wants it, I guess I'll take it. There was like a Kanan without his eyes core, so I guess that's more specific, obscure if you want to go with that. But
yeah, nice.
Yeah, I just went with Kanan Jarrus and worked out, I guess.
Yeah, but well, I remember
one of the more popular characters.
Yeah, I remember you posted a little while back that you weren't such a fan of him in the early days.
I wasn't never with him. It was more like Rebels when it first came out, because I was back in the day, I was a salty Clone Wars fanboy when it was canceled. I was like, Disney and all that, whatever. He took it away, and then when the initial stuff for Rebels came out, they're kind of announced, hey, we're doing this. So I was kind of like, okay. And they actually had I remember a preview kind of like these are the characters, and they had Kanan. They're like, oh, a cowboy Jedi. I'm like, well, that seems cool. It's just when the first episode came out, I was just like, this isn't what I wanted. It's not like Clone Wars at all. It's whatever. And then so I dropped the show or whatever after watching the premiere, and I think it was like a year later, maybe even less, I went back and watched the first season. Like, what was I on? This is amazing. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, being that, I will say right away that I appreciate Macquarie Mondays that you maintain, where Kanan Jarrus, he posts like Ralph Macquarie like concept art, and man, they're good. And you probably got to throw a good nod toward the Rebels for probably being closer toward that art style.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first things I remember. They sort of one of the first things that they said, like when they announced they were doing Rebels, the picture they posted along with sort of the announcement article or whatever was a picture of a Ralph Macquarie concept art of an X-wing that was like, we're doing Rebels. And it was the kind of idea was a Ralph Macquarie inspired, at least aesthetically inspired show. And it certainly did that in quite a few ways. Yeah.
Well, one of the things, I mean, the biggest gripe, and this is not unique to me at all, but like the sabers themselves, the lightsabers being really, really thin, really skinny.
Yeah, I've heard that many a time, that complaint. I like the skinny saber.
Okay.
And I it's something else about the effect. It's not just a thin blade. Like it's hard to explain, but when it moves,
it bends a bit, doesn't it?
You can tell they're rotoscoping it, kind of. It's it's not just like the Clone Wars lightsabers where it's just like a stick of light, a cool looking stick of light. But when it moved, it was just that. But something about the way they animate them in Rebels is, I don't know, it's A New Hope is my favorite Star Wars movie, and it looks like the blades in New Hope, and so It also makes them look more like rapiers, fencing kind of thing,
Mm.
which is cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, everyone else seems to not really care for it. I'm the only one.
Well, I do actually like that they threw a nod to like the whole adjustable length thing, especially with Ezra's.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. I remember reading that in some reference book, visual diction, kids junior something, where it was like, here's the parts of a lightsaber, here's a knob that lets you adjust length. I was like, whoa, you can adjust the length of a lightsaber. What if it was like 10 feet long or something? But
Yeah, yeah,
it was a little more reasonable, like you can extend it like an extra half
yeah. Well,
foot or something.
we've joked about it on the show, much like a tape measure. You know, you try and undo the tape measure as long as it can possibly go before it like falls over. It's like, yeah, how if you stuck it out to space, could it keep on going forever and ever? Like, I don't know. You know.
I imagine there's a energy limit or something.
Mm, mm. Well, Liam, one of the guys on our show, he has said, and I don't know if this is like in the comics or anything. Again, Kanan Jarrus is your guy for comics. If you go to Kanan Jarrus,
Canon comics, I
yeah,
don't claim to know much about the EU
yeah. Well,
comics wise.
well, Maul apparently he uses this trick where with his double bladed saber, his staff saber, where he apparently as he's fighting, he like adjusts the knobs to like shorten and lengthen the blades or something to like confuse his fighters.
That that sounds like it was from an older comic or something because I don't remember. I do feel like I remember hearing that
Hmm.
like he did that, but I don't remember where it was. And but I wouldn't put it past Maul to do that. It's
He's pretty
kind of
cheeky,
the
yeah. All right.
trickster he is.
Well, using that momentum, then we've talked a bit about Rebels and Clone Wars, and you know, you've just said that New Hope being your favorite. So my beginner question to kind of any Star Wars fan that I meet, because I really am so interested. You know, there's a different story. I take it for just about everyone. Where like your Star Wars fandom, like where did that begin, and like, why does it continue? You know, after all this time.
Well, honestly, as long as I can remember, pretty much I had to be like I don't know, like 2 or 3 years old, and my parents would put on A New Hope like on
Hmm.
the VHS, and I didn't have any idea what was really going on, but looked cool. And I barely remember ever seeing it. I just know that I saw it like when I was really young, and of course, like every kid, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
space lasers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I really only ever just saw New Hope. That's all they would show me
Hmm.
was that. I mean, maybe they put on an Empire, Return of the Jedi at some point. I don't remember seeing that early though. Uh, but it was like that, and The Lion King was just the movies I watched over and over as a kid. Uh, then there was a point where I was able to comprehend plot as a thing, and I got to that age, and I saw like Empire and Return of the Jedi and loved them. Well, Empire not as much because as a kid, you like the Battle of Hoth. That's really cool. Snow walkers and all that. But
Hmm.
then you see Luke get his hand cut off, and you're like, this sucks. I don't
Oh,
want to
really?
watch this.
Oh.
And it was until much later I was like, wait, Empire is the best movie. What am I talking about?
Hmm.
But yeah, so and then the prequels came out, and I saw those. I don't know, on DVD or VHS or
Okay.
something,
Okay.
and you know, while everyone else was griping over them at that time, me as a 4-year-old was like, these are awesome. I love watching the Battle of Geonosis over again. I
Oh.
made my parents watch Attack of the Clones with me just so we could get to that part. And I guess they had to suffer through Attack of the Clones and the whole Anakin Padme romance scenes, the awkward
Hmm.
dialogue, just to humor me.
Hmm.
But then I got to see Revenge of the Sith in the theater when I was like 7 or something with my dad, and that was cool.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Could,
And
well, if I
yeah,
if I
so
could just jump in there really quickly, Attack of the Clones, super underrated. Like I
it's
can.
my least favorite, but to me there's a good story.
Yeah.
It's just weirdly executed in some areas. Mostly just the Anakin and Padme stuff.
Hmm.
Some of those I remember because it was a point a couple years ago. I think it was like in preparation for The Force Awakens. I rewatched pretty much all the movies, and
Yep.
I remember getting to Attack of the Clones, and it was the first time I watched it in a couple of years, and just that whole fireplace scene with Anakin and Padme was
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy, it was bad.
Because one
But
thing I will throw to that is like, so on the one hand, it is incredibly realistic that this poor doofus boy who's, you know, it's his childhood crush and he's never been in a relationship before. He's saying the goofiest stuff, but we don't need to see that on screen. Like, even though that's exactly how it would go down.
yeah, there's also that, like, in the beginning when he first meets her, he's being kind of a creep. Where he's like, don't look at me this way, don't look at me like that or something. Why? He's like, because I don't like it. And he's like,
yeah.
But I understand about Attack of the Clones. I feel, especially the Obi-Wan stuff, him like investigating this whole like army that was like the bounty hunter of Jango Fett, and he finds this clone army and stuff, and like that whole stuff is awesome. And the Battle of Geonosis, and you get to see Yoda start. That's the first time I remember. I don't remember specifically. I remember what the feeling of seeing Yoda take out his lightsaber the first time. I've never, you've seen Yoda like kind of walk around with a stick. I mean, everybody's an X-wing. See him like start flipping around. Christopher Lee with a lightsaber. I was like,
yeah, because we saw that in the cinema and we started laughing. Me and my sister, we would have been maybe like 8 years old or something like that. You know, he walks in, you're like, oh boy, what are you gonna like force throw him around the room? And then he starts, like jumping around the place. And
it was a good impression.
We lost it. We absolutely lost it. It was so funny. Yeah. Well, if I may move forward then into, man, Zoom sucks for latency. It's like, we're both going. If I could move forward into the sequel trilogy, then what's up with that?
Well, see that once the Disney kind of purchase happened, at first I was among the ones people who were like, this can't be good. But looking back, it was probably one of the better things that could have happened to Star Wars, because it was fading. I don't know if you remember Star Wars Detours, that animated thing they were doing. That was like the biggest announcement they had. It was really weirdly, I won't say bad, because I don't know, but that's what they had there for ideas at the time. They had Clone Wars. That was the only real thing they had going on. But so yeah, the Disney purchase happened, and I was hesitant, but once like news started flowing in of like the movies they were going to make, and like just all the stuff, the details, I started getting more involved on the online side of things, in interacting with Star Wars fans online. And that really propelled me from like kid who likes Star Wars into like hardcore Star Wars fan, looking at all the news, theorizing stuff, researching that's also when I started really like, I was like, I'm going to read every comic that comes out. And that was from that point on. That's why I much kept up with all the comics. So yeah, sequel trilogy really kind of made me like hardcore Star Wars fan, at least the inception of it made me want to get involved. But for sequel trilogy for me, I love Force Awakens, and much to many people's chagrin, I love The Last Jedi. Might be the second best Star Wars movie in my opinion.
You're part of the problem, Kanan.
But Rise of Skywalker, however, that's where I said Attack of the Clones was my least favorite, but Rise of Skywalker might be more than the least favorite. And
tell me why. Why is that?
It's, well, you could argue, you could get a whole thing about, I'm not a filmmaker, so I don't want to start, or I'm not a cinephile or whatever, like,
everyone's a critic, that's fine.
Bad filmmaking, obviously, and all that stuff. But there are I feel like some poor writing choices in this movie, and
it's Ben, one of the guys who's on our show. Like he is something of a filmmaker, and myself as well. Like I have quite a vested interest, and I think we both agree that it's one of those things where you're not really sure what's important the whole time you're watching it, because like the
thing is, like, people don't like The Last Jedi because they say one of the reasons a lot of people don't like The Last Jedi is because they feel like it went in a different direction than Force Awakens, or it felt different.
Mhm.
In that's for a broad term. To me, though, it still feels like it follows Force Awakens in a somewhat natural progression. The story is more or less like how how you expect it to go, but makes sense from a narrative standpoint of the First Order is attacking these people after they attack their base, and they've got to go away, try to escape, regroup, whatever, and then Rey's on the island training with Luke, and that ultimately culminates. But the Rise of Skywalker the Rise of Skywalker to me feels just like a complete left turn of the plot. Like it just, I thought, because my expectation at the end of Last Jedi was, well, Luke's dead, Snoke's dead, so now it's just Rey and Kylo, and now we're just going to get to see them sort of. They don't have to worry about taking on each other's mentor or something as like the final boss.
Right.
It's just them two, and it's just going to be their conflict.
Right.
And then just Palpatine comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "I guess when I'm alive, yeah, I'm back." And it's like, what? And it wasn't like there's no like setup for this in canon, in the movies or anything. It was just actually there was setup. It was in the Fortnite event. They had Palpatine's message to the galaxy broadcasted in the Fortnite event. So that was some. And it's like, okay, I guess we're dealing with this now. And then Kylo kind of gets sidelined as instead of, I thought he was going to be the main villain, but he gets sidelined. I do like Rey and Kylo's dynamic in the movie for the most part. Like I like when it was just them two going at it and like them kind of trying to get on into her skin and all that stuff. But then I don't know, it's just and there's a whole thing with like Finn trying to tell her something. If you look at the movie, he's trying to tell Rey something. I don't know if you remember this. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a love confession. I always thought they'd make a good couple, so I was okay with it. But apparently, I went after the movie, like interview with JJ came out, and he's like, no, he's trying to tell her that he's force sensitive. I'm like, what? Why is he? Well, the fact that they were going to resolve it in the movie, and the fact that I don't know, Finn as a force sensitive to me is just.
Well, I got two things on that. Really quick. Well, I mean, it doesn't really make sense because he's there clawing in the dirt, before he gets swallowed whole. And like, what are you gonna say? Either I love you to the person that you never said that to, or hey, I can use the force, and then you're gone. Like, yeah, it doesn't.
It's weird.
Yeah. Just really quickly because we've got to talk about like KOTOR and the Eclipse game and everything.
So when I get started on Rise of Skywalker, I start going. My bad. Man,
you got some bottled up stuff, I can tell, and believe me, I'll be glad to have you back on this show if you'd like.
I try to be a sort of a face of positivity in the Star Wars fandom, but so I try to keep from Rise of Skywalker because I start to get.
I tell you one thing, because we were in the midnight premiere for Rise of Skywalker, the Astromech boys. We got to go there and do that, which was great. Oh, not the premiere, the midnight release rather. And we're sitting there, and like the opening scene with like Kylo as he meets the Emperor, and the Emperor starts talking to him, and then he says, because Kylo says like I killed Snoke or something, and then the Emperor says like I made Snoke or something, and I was sitting there in the audience, and I went yes, like thank God, because my whole grievance with like where did Snoke come from? How is he just there all of a sudden, and we've got no pretext during the whole original trilogy of him not being there. But then to hear Palpatine say that he just, whipped him up in a test tube, I was like, whew, there's all of that gone out of my mind. It's like, he's just a pawn of the Emperor. So that myself sitting there, I was like, it works,
Well, for me, for that, I don't mind the idea that Palpatine created Snoke. I didn't want it to be that Palpatine was Snoke in a sense. Like he said in the movie, like I've been every voice inside your head, implying that he was like Snoke was like a meat puppet for him to possess his will through or something. And I always liked the idea more that Snoke was his own character. Even if Palpatine created him, if he had his own personality and will and motivations, I preferred that idea. So though like the opposite, when you're going fist pumping because confirmed that Snoke is Palpatine's kind of guy. I had two moments where I like sort of face palmed in the audience while watching Rise of Skywalker. First one was when Kylo goes, "You are Palpatine."
Yes.
And I was like, we had a whole thing about the last movie about her not being anybody. And I guess since the fans didn't like it, we're just going to sweep that under the rug and do this whole thing. And then the second time was when Rey and Kylo kissed, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
I will defend that.
Seems like
I will defend that.
I like in the moment they were dying and stuff, and they had this really nice connection, but
it's not a romantic kiss. I say that over and over. It wasn't a romantic kiss. It was a thank you for saving my life, grateful kiss.
Yeah, still, I would have preferred Ben to survive, and then if he had survived with the kiss, that'd been a little awkward. But
yeah,
and we should probably move on to something else.
Straight up ghosted her, literally. Yeah. Well, all right, man. Like, I could keep on talking about this for the duration of our interview here, but we got to move on. So, really quick, and I'm try your best here, but really quick, KOTOR. All right, the remake, as it is being called. I think yes, the remade or something.
Yes. Remake, yeah.
Obviously, fans of this show will know that I am all about it. KOTOR was like absolutely, each time it comes out on a new platform, I'm pretty sure I play it because it's just, let's go, let's have fun here. This new one, talk to me about it. Like, can I be that like open and just say talk?
Yeah. Well, like I am a big KOTOR fan, but I'm assuming you grew up on it. You played it when you were young, stuff like that. When it like maybe first came out, or do you on Xbox or what?
I was a bit too young for the whole D20 system. I watched my brother play it when it first came out. Like I sat by him and watched. It was glued to the screen and like was so mad whenever he'd pick the bully dialect, because he was always so mean to all the other characters, and I didn't like that. But I watched him play it. And then a bit later on, I actually started with KOTOR 2. That was the first one I played. And then I went back and played the other ones.
Yeah, for me, funny enough, like I'd sort of known KOTOR existed. And like I said, once I started to get a little more involved in the online community, I started to really understand that KOTOR was like a holy grail type, like this is the thing. And I was very intrigued by it. And so the first time I played it was
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you. We to this day have not spoiled the reveal in that game, okay? We encourage people to play it, so we're keeping that, okay?
No spoilers.
Okay.
But so the thing is, the first time I played it was on a smartphone because the app was a thing at that time, and so maybe not the most ideal playthrough, but I loved it nonetheless. I was like in senior in high school at that time, and I spent most of the classes playing the game when I probably should have been more paying attention. But yeah, and because of the weird mechanics on the phone, I couldn't actually beat the final boss. So I had to look up the ending that I wanted because I couldn't beat the game because of the weird thing.
Yeah.
But I still love the game, and I was like, I'm a fan of this game. And I was able to get it on PC, and I played it there and through again, and it was this time on Dark Side, and I loved it there. Then I played KOTOR 2, and I like KOTOR 2, but I do think there's some stuff in it that I don't care for as much as other people do, and that's an unpopular opinion to some people that consider like the best Star Wars game ever made or anything like that, because of its more like philosophical nature, that whole thing. But to me, that's one of its weaknesses, is that I think it tries a little too hard to say things about Star Wars that aren't.
That's it. Yeah. And
against the kind of it doesn't, like, it feels to me like it doesn't get the point. Like if it existed in sort of its own, like if KOTOR 1 and 2 existed in a vacuum without Star Wars, like there was no greater universe beyond just those two games, I think it would be actually really interesting and fascinating with like what it says about the Force and all that.
Yep.
But in the context of greater Star Wars universe and of George Lucas's vision and his ideas and themes and values and whatnot. To me, it just kind of falls flat in there, and I don't care for Kreia at all.
No, definitely not. And like furthermore on that, like for me, it kind of irritates me when they try and do this whole gray area in Star Wars. Like it's always been for me light versus dark, good versus evil. And I'm not really such a fan of the idea that, oh, well, there's a little bit of evil and everyone good and everyone evil. Like there's redemptive qualities. I get it, in the dark, in pulling people from the dark side. But then, particularly KOTOR 2 and Kreia, questioning the Jedi Council at every turn and, hypocrisy.
And she freaks out if you feed a homeless person or give a homeless person money, but she also freaks out if you don't or something. It's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
But the gray area whole thing, I know it's kind of a sort of hotly debated topic in the fandom of Gray Jedi, and I'm sort of against the idea, at least the name, because
it's been tainted.
Pablo Hidalgo made like a whole post about one time where he was saying like on Twitter, like you're either a Jedi or not. If you're a Jedi, it means you're using the light side. That's kind of the point of a Jedi. So slapping the word gray on it kind of defeats the purpose of the word Jedi. But sort of gray area of the Force, I'm not completely against that, because there's like in the Rebels, there's the Bendu, if you know that character.
Yep, big dude.
And the point is that he's just more like he's nature personified, like in the Force, and a storm doesn't care if it kills you or not, but that doesn't make it evil. It's no, but it's not good either. It's sort of it's just there, and it has its own will, but it's not evil or good. So that's where I think of a gray area is just that. Ahsoka is not a gray Jedi. I'm gonna put that out there right now.
Who said
she's not
is
gray in any sense? People think she's a great Jedi because she says, "I'm no Jedi," and Vader, because she's taking vengeance on Vader for whatever. That whole line in her confrontation, if you remember that.
Yeah, well, she was expelled from the Order, so of course she's not a Jedi.
Yeah, she's not a Jedi, but it doesn't mean she's not a light side user. She's
That's
still
it.
She in the Clone Wars, she had the personification of the light side, the daughter from the Mortis trilogy, Reviver, and she's like inside her. I think she's light side people.
I think so.
But so that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so KOTOR 2 is not my favorite game. At least I prefer KOTOR 1. I think also in terms of that, KOTOR 1 is more well-paced. Like, to me, getting through KOTOR 2 a lot can feel like a chore. Just it feels like it's very long in some areas and not as entertaining. But whereas KOTOR 1, that's something I just feel like I fly through it. Like I just play it 5 times over, like back to back, and I never get tired of it.
Well, my question then for you is, so this new one, coming back to that then, it says remake. It doesn't say, I always forget this word, much to my detriment. It's not like a reskin or like a...
Remaster?
Yeah, it doesn't say remaster. It says remake, right? So with that, are you...
There was a...
Okay, you got something.
There was an article that they put out or something like that after their reveal, and they said we're making it from the ground up, as in we're not just gonna take the game and detail the textures a little bit more, and maybe some lighting stuff, like they are rebuilding the game, assets and all, from the ground up. And that also, I'm pretty sure it means that there's not going to be any it's not just going to be the same game, but just modern graphics. It's going to be different.
Well,
or maybe not completely different. They did say they said we're keeping the narrative the same. Like we're trying to leave that alone as much as possible.
Okay. Yep.
But I think it just means like what I really hope for in this remake is the planets and stuff like being much more, feel a little more bigger, more lived in, and like you go on Manan or Tatooine, and then the people there, like there's more NPCs sort of just walking around. Terrace.
Yeah.
Feel it. The Undercity some to feel really packed and dirty and all that, and just bigger areas and stuff like that. And also maybe more side quests of just interesting little side stories that don't actually affect the main narrative all that much, but are fun nonetheless. I think would be a
Mm.
nice addition. But I think that's more what they mean.
Yeah,
is
because also you have in the reveal trailer, who's the poster child still, right? It's Revan.
Revan.
So exactly, you're gonna have to have that narrative still play its way through the game, regardless of what they put in.
Because that's what the point I think of this remake is the story is great. It's fantastic. One
Yeah.
of the best stories,
Don't
Star Wars
touch it.
stories
Yeah.
ever written.
Yeah.
And they just want the rest of the mechanics and graphics and gameplay, all that to match the story. It'd be like, here's the gold standard story. Let's give it the treatment of a full experience so it doesn't feel as dated for people who want to play it and all that.
Yeah, it deserves to be out there. It's a good enough story, man. Yeah.
Maybe they'll make Blaster class a viable option.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Well, man, if we're cool with that one, I really do want to talk about. We've gotten a trailer recently, Eclipse, Lucasfilm Games paired up with Quantic Dream to bring us a new. I don't even know if we've got a release date, like 2023. I think is what I heard. I don't know.
Maybe something around there.
Okay.
It's not going to be. They just said very early development, so we're not going to see it for quite a bit, I imagine.
Right.
At least 2 years.
Right. Okay. So first thing I did was it said Quantic Dream, and I went, I have no idea who that is. So I went and looked up games to their belt, such as Detroit Become Human, Heavy Rain, and Beyond Two Souls, seem to be the more highly rated games. But yet, still, there seems to be this opinion online that they are not the company to be handling a Star Wars IP. Have you heard anything like that? What's going on there?
Yes, mostly due to the head of the studio. He has what you might call unpopular opinions, or he's said some very scandalous things,
untasteful things. Okay,
in his time, and so I don't know if we want to get into that on here. If you're okay with touching, political, if you want to call it that stuff.
Probably not.
He's an unpopular guy.
Okay,
David Cage is his name. He is. However, I think I've never played any Quantic Dream game.
Okay.
I have seen bits of Heavy Rain. I have seen a playthrough of Beyond Two Souls, and like clips of Detroit Become Human.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of potential there. I feel some people don't like, because their games are, I don't know if you know this, but they're more like an interactive movie.
Okay.
Like there's not as much. It's not like free roam, run around kind of deal. It's you make choices based like if a Telltale game, if you know, their style. It's more like that, in that line of things, where you walk around in some parts and you have like quick time events for action.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's mostly based around choices you make, and dialogue choices, and or character choices and stuff like that.
Okay.
And
if I could ask you then, so leave aside the head of the company for now, like, that seems to be an unfortunate thing. But the company itself, if that seems to be the style of games that they make, like, press X to disagree with so-and-so, or, whatever the thing may be, is that, I mean, it's a different style for Star Wars games. Is that the wrong choice though?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It might not maybe some. I think a lot of people might be disappointed that it's not what they want from a Star Wars game, maybe. But I think it actually, because Star Wars at its core is a cinematic experience.
Sure. I
think the general idea is that it's about like the music and the spectacle and all that, and character driven stories and whatnot. I recently started playing Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm sure you know the game.
Yep.
And what I found is, when I was playing through the class stories of the game, some people find the gameplay to be boring or whatever. I like it, but what I found was, probably liked the most was making choices for my character, and like role playing, basically, more or
Sure,
less
sure.
my character's story. And I like I had a thought. I was like, well, I could almost play a game where it was just none of the action gameplay is just me making choices. And then this game gets announced like not even a month later. And I was like, huh, isn't that kind of what I was thinking of?
Yeah.
And well, it's not maybe the most, it's not like Star Wars video game. Like I think people want the big thing people want from a Star Wars video game is more like an open world, run around, that kind of RPG thing.
Yep. Yep.
But for this, I think Quantic Dream's style their style of gameplay, and they on their website it does say an action adventure game, so maybe they're trying to incorporate a little more actiony gameplay into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's not a bad fit.
No, especially
done
because
right.
you've got, I mean, there's this Lego Star Wars game around the corner, and like me, a grown ass man, is still looking forward to that. I'll say, like, I got a little son
Yeah.
now, so I'm gonna be like sitting him on my knee and playing
I
that.
grew up on Lego Star Wars too, man. It's one
Okay,
of the best.
absolutely. I have to get Lego Star Wars 2 Core back on here, have a chat about that when that's out, because he's a great guy. But then with games like, we've got this thing teased with Ubisoft. Again, I'm hopeful. General flavor out there. Like I put a post on my page, Jedi Academy Core, recently on like how do we feel about the Ubisoft kind of merger with Lucasfilm Games. People seem to be unenthusiastic. I'm hopeful, right? But say that that's like an open style game. So Lego Star Wars, Ubisoft game, a new KOTOR remake. Those are all different sort of like genres of games. And so the idea of Quantic Dream coming along now and placing this, like you say, almost photo real, like some of the trailer stuff. I was looking at, like, there's a guy in the market.
If the game looks even just close to that, it'll be amazing.
Knock your socks off. Yeah. So as far as that goes, yes, it's not an open world. Yes, it's not necessarily like a shooter or lightsaber bashing game, but maybe it's exactly what we need, like a fresh take on that sort of thing.
Telltale has been very successful, and their sort of their style of gameplay, it really took off, and people seem to like it. Maybe people have gotten tired of it over time, but I think with this Star Wars thing, it'd be a nice sort of a fresh thing for Star Wars, or not fresh, but I think an interesting direction they can take it in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I believe on on the website, it said you will play through several characters several different character perspectives. So you'll be playing as like different characters throughout the game, and I imagine maybe some of their storylines cross and whatever, but like plays a Jedi, plays like a bounty hunter and stuff like that, and just make different choices among these and create your own narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not a bad idea for a Star Wars game. It sounds at the very least interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the question I would put out to the listeners and anybody watching, like, again, turnsounds@gmail.com, please write us in, or on our Facebook page as well. If you don't believe, so they didn't like it when EA was at the helm of Star Wars, Quantic Dream seems to be like, there could be better people. People don't like Ubisoft as well. I pose the question to you, like, what game developer would you have team up with Lucasfilm Games, Like Respawn? I like what Respawn did with Fallen Order. That was okay.
I love Fallen Order. Yeah. I find that to be a very, very my kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
But
because
hard to say.
Was it like Insomniac or someone that used to handle? Who was it that is now no longer existing? They had like a moon or something as their logo.
I don't remember.
I forget who. It was like one of the original developers of KOTOR, I believe. If only I had Google in front of me.
There was. I don't remember anyone working on KOTOR besides like BioWare or Obsidian or anything like that.
Obsidian. That's who it is. That's who it was.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought they're still around.
Yeah. Obsidian. Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So maybe besides them, yeah. Who do you think could handle it? Write us in and let us know. Comment on the link that no doubt Kanan will share.
Yes, I will.
But yeah. So all of that aside, I mean, any other thoughts on that before we start wrapping this up?
Well, I think we got to address the obvious, is that trailer was incredible.
Oh boy.
Even if the game just sucks, I think we can always look back on that trailer and be like, that was amazing.
Right, actually.
That's all that this.
Well,
That's all like the legacy this game has is that trailer. I think it'll be fine.
well, it falls into the unfortunate trap of people being like, you fooled us once with the Old Republic, right? Do you remember the cinematic trailer for that?
I watched them many a time. Yes.
Yeah, so along came that, and you go, "Whoa, what is this?" And then it's an MMO or something like that, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But with this, it's kind of supposed to be an interactive movie, so I think it's kind of supposed to look like that, just with button prompts on screen, or something like that.
Look,
but still, amazing trailer.
Yeah, the first thing we get with actual gameplay will either stoke the criticism or it will put a whole lot to rest, and we'll just relax and go, okay, we're excited for this now.
Most likely both.
Yeah.
No,
true.
Star Wars fandom.
True. Yeah, we can't agree on anything, can we?
Nope.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, what else do I have here? Right at the end here, I do have a random segment here, which I guess I could quickfire these and sort of see how you like them. I have a new segment here. It's called Isaac's Wonderful Ideas, and it's got a stinger, which I haven't yet made for it. This is effectively, look, I study the Star Wars universe. There are a whole bunch of cool things in and out of canon. There are some really wacky things, and I got some ideas, which is like, if you were to see this in either a movie or a game or even a comic, is it like a yes, this belongs here, or nah, like get rid of it type thing? All right.
All right, shoot.
All right. So we've seen before in the Jedi Fallen Order game, and I think as well in the Force Unleashed game, that you can have creatures that are like powered by the Force, or like droid type. You got those Guardian droids that are like powered by the Force in Fallen Order. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Yeah, they've got like these spinning
Yes,
orbs.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My idea here is you have a being that has passed into the netherworld of the Force, right? He has like a Force ghost, but he can still operate like this droid conduit to be able to be like an actual lightsaber wielding droid. And the idea behind it is you can't kill him. Like, he's just this droid. You could maybe subdue him, but it doesn't matter how much you hack and slash it. If it, malfunctions, the Force essence inside it never actually dies. That's my idea.
I mean, it could work. It's actually not that. That all sounds actually something that exists. Like I'm surprised if that doesn't exist already. But I was the sort of afterlife thing of the Force.
Yeah.
I always find that a bit. I don't know. There's conflicting
lore on
in
it.
canon. Of like. George Lucas was originally supposed to be like, where he said it was like Sith can't be like ghosts or anything like that. Once they're dead, they're dead. And the Jedi are the ones who get to appear as Force ghosts. But then it's kind of like, well, except when this thing is like that, or I guess when Palpatine comes back, whatever. We're past that.
Okay.
But it's not a bad idea. I think it could fit and done right.
All right.
It'd most likely be a Sith possessing it.
Do you know? Yeah. Well, having kind of thought about it, I don't know if you ever played the expansion on Force Unleashed, where you are Starkiller and you go and you hunt down Obi-Wan Kenobi as an old man, or Ben Kenobi.
I saw it on YouTube long ago, but yes, I know the one.
Okay, because what happens in the end fight? Like you manage to kill him, but then his Force Ghost comes back straight away, and you battle his Force Ghost. And in that, I
remember that.
I don't know if you actually kill him or not, but you actually like pick him up and throw him into the boosters of the Millennium Falcon or whatever.
Yeah, that kills him or something.
It
was weird.
It's wild, man. Like, I don't know about that, but there you go. So
maybe it's not. So maybe the idea, maybe not as like a main movie thing, but like a side comic that no one really reads. It'd be a cool thing to have.
Yeah, you'd read it, I'm sure. And comics guy.
Probably.
Yeah. All right, I got one more for you, and then we're going to move into no disintegrations, the final part of the show. So we've seen in Rebels the pergolas, I think they're called, the space whales.
Yes.
Okay, they're
Yeah.
able to travel in the hyperspace lanes, right?
Yes.
What if you have a race of creatures that herds up these space whales and actually effectively just throws a saddle on them and uses these organic beings to travel hyperspace? No need for fuel. I mean, maybe you got to feed them, but effectively you travel around and that whale is your spaceship.
I love that idea.
There you go.
I mean, maybe there's some things to figure out, like how do they not get like their head torn off when they go to hyperspace or whatever that is, like how they survive in hyperspace.
There's like,
well, how do the Perkos survive? But whatever. But
I don't know. There's like a little capsule or something which is actually on top of the thing, which is all airtight and whatnot. Yeah. I don't know how you port the whale though, like bring it into a spaceport.
I mean, it's not terribly far off from what happens Ezra and Thrawn. They kind of hitched on, or the space whale hitched on to them, and they took off with them, and it's kind of the sort of the same concept. But I do like that idea that there's be these riders of the Purgo go around, and that they use the Purgo as a space thing. So I don't know how you'd steer them exactly. You don't have like nav computers you can put coordinates in.
I don't know. Maybe there's like a
connect to the force or something.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Well, we're now going to move into the final part of the show. I end this on our other shows. Like, this is the way we end it. Like you say, so you're a bit of a proponent, I suppose, is the word for it. Positivity in Star Wars. Like, we like this franchise and we like to appreciate it. So, mostly.
Mostly.
And so, no disintegrations. It's the part of the show where we bring an item. It can be absolutely anything from Star Wars, and we just bring it out and say, hey, look at this. Don't we like this? And I'll go first, and then I'll let you lead out the show, Kanan. So I'm bringing today the Death Star plans. I like that in the world of Star Wars, where everything's beamed this up, transmit these, blah, 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 and yet effectively it's still just on like a little disc, a USB type thing, Same thing with the map later on in BB-8, whatever. But yeah, the idea that we actually have to take this physical copy of Death Star plans and escort it to the people who need it, That's neat. It's a very analog thing in such a digital, universe.
That's the beauty of those 70s sci-fi fantasy, or mostly sci-fi movies like Alien, which is supposed to be futuristic, but they have all these analog looking stuff. But the Death Star plans are, and I love their graphics when they're when it's plugged in, and you get really, really simple 3D image. It's so charming. I love it.
Oh, it works so well. All right, what have you got?
Picking one thing out of, I mean, I've actually kind of done this on my page where I'll sometimes just have like a random thought, like, that actually is really cool, and I make a post about it in Star Wars. So I don't know if I should reuse one of those or.
I know it's tricky, but we do this like week after week, so we get to just use them all up. So it's easy for us.
I will say that I love.
Here we go.
I'm just second guessing myself.
You can have two if you want,
Yeah. I love the lights in the carbonation chamber in Cloud City. The little orange lights all over the thing that give that such a weird, eerie glow.
Beautiful.
I don't know if they'd call it I guess they're not impractical, but they seem a little excessive for a I don't know, an industrial area, but it looks really cool and made for an epic dueling battleground.
Yeah. Well, because not only that, but the whole area is like a carbon freezing chamber, right? Like we're gonna freeze these things in carbonate, and yet the orange glow makes everything seem so hot everywhere.
And there's these like blue lights in the background that sort of like light up this mist that's kind of ominously rising everywhere. But though to pick something else that's maybe a little more, my favorite theme from Star Wars or message, the kind of thing is that of redemption. I find that to be one of the most attractive things, at least to me, about Star Wars, is that like pretty much anyone can be redeemed. Like it's possible. They don't always do it, but it's possible. And I'm a sucker for redeemed characters. Like when a character gets redeemed, I'm just like, oh, I love that. I love that so much. Even if it's not really done well, I still love it. But yeah, I just love that whole concept that really they do quite a bit. And
well, yeah.
maybe it has something to do with KOTOR, but I won't go into that.
Oh, well, not only like from the dark to light type thing, like you got all those classic examples, but then even characters like Holdo, you know, in The Last Jedi, who for the whole movie, myself, certainly, I'm there like with my arms crossed going, you're a terrible character, like you're the worst pick, why are you even a leader? And then she goes and, you know, sacrifices herself at the end. You're like, wow, there's the redemptive quality. And it fits.
Yeah. It's just little moment, man, little moments, big moments, I guess, like those. When it happens, I'm like, yes, fist pump in the air. Yeah, I could name probably 100 more things, but I don't know if we want the show to go on too much longer. So
yeah, man, no, that's absolutely true. Like it encapsulates everything for me what Star Wars is about, and that's particularly why, you know, when there was all this speculation about Rise of Skywalker and is Kylo going to be redeemed, or does he like full on commit to the dark side and go down in a blaze of glory? But no, I was always in the camp that no, it's about redemption. He should be redeemed even after the horrible things he's done.
yeah, and honestly, his redemption was one of the best parts of that movie. Was I love seeing that, even though it was a little maybe whateverly done, but that's because Anyway, that was I love that part of the movie.
All right,
and for a movie called or series called Star Wars, it's a lot about trying to not fight wars.
Yeah.
Be peaceful or something like that.
Yeah. Man, that's absolutely awesome. I got one last question for you, and I've deliberately saved this to last to kind of like throw you off a little bit here. I got a little seed that I'm hoping to plant, all right? And we'll see where this goes. So, your page now has been active for how long?
4 years.
Okay. All right. So you've set down the
Getting
ground.
Too old for this.
You've set down the groundwork. Everybody knows who you are. Now, it's revealed in Rebels that Kanan Jarrus, his real name, you know, before all of this began, Caleb Doom. Now, is there at all a possibility at some point in the future that you will embrace the name Caleb Doom over Kanan Jarrus?
Embrace how so? Like in real life, or that I'll change my page name to Caleb Doom-Core?
No, not legally change your name, you know, on your birth certificate and all that. No, I'm talking page name, you know.
I don't really see a reason to. I mean, I like the name and I like the Doom whole thing. With the Doom Wolf, maybe I'll just be Doom Wolf Core. But no, that's an interesting question.
It's a little something.
I don't see any reason to drop the Kanan part. Everyone likes Kanan Jarrus, and that's more or less what he goes by for most of the time. And you got to keep that brand name up.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's a bit more obscure, but then I think right toward the end, you know, spoilers ahead for anyone who hasn't seen Rebels, but when Kanan sacrifices himself right at the end, does he not become Caleb? Like, isn't there some sort of vision he sees or something?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say more like was one if it depends on what you think Caleb, the transition from the name from Caleb Doom to Kanan Jarrus symbolizes, and it to me just more symbolizes a growth in character. That he's now this person. Caleb is the past. So he was that scared Padawan, but now Kanan Jarrus is the mature Jedi character, and he refers to often himself as Kanan Jarrus, Jedi Knight. Everyone calls him Kanan, even like knowing his real name.
Yeah.
He has no real reason to hide his name anymore, yet he keeps the Kanan Jarrus. And I think it signifies that stage, that phase in his life of where he is. And I don't think he changed back or thought to a headspace where he was when he was protecting everyone and sacrificing himself. I think more was just he had a moment of clarity, but I think that was more just he understood his purpose in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, because right before all of that, like he cuts his hair and he shaves his face and all of that, you know.
True, but I think that was more just Dave Filoni trying to do a Seven Samurai thing, where like before this guy goes on to save a kid, he chops off his hair and does all that, and that's supposed to be like a samurai thing. It's a big deal when you cut your ponytail off. Stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Even though he does a pretty crappy job of his haircut, but like you say, he doesn't have a mirror. But yeah, I don't think it's more. I don't quite think it's a Caleb Doom thing. I associate Caleb Doom as the kid and Kanan as the adult.
Yep.
That to me, that's what those that his names signify.
All right. Well, yeah, man. I appreciate that clarification. I'm happy to get the insight into that. Yeah.
It's more kind of like my opinion interpretation, but yeah, sure.
It's true. No, it's absolutely true. Especially what we see in the Clone Wars with the scared Caleb and him running away and whatnot. So. Yeah, well, in the Bad Batch, rather. Yeah. Well, man, that'll just about do it. I really appreciated having you on the show. It's there are some people you get on and it's hard to get a word out of them, but you're a chatty guy, and I appreciate that on this show.
Sometimes that's a bad thing, but yes, thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Kanan Jarrus-Core. You're one of the capital C core pages.
Yeah, I was like, it's a title, right? You got to have the full thing. It's like a name. You know, then apparently that was like a, you're not supposed to do that, or just according to some.
Yeah. Oh,
but I haven't been kicked out of the core community yet, so.
Oh man, well keep it going. I definitely appreciate your stuff. Your comic posting is great. Macquarie Mondays, keep them up. And
if I don't forget, yes, I will keep them up.
Absolutely, man. Oh yeah, we'll get you on it again sometime soon. Thanks a lot, man.
Oh yeah, I'd love to be on again.
All right, cheers.